Breaking this hour, sources close to the courtroom confirm that a key figure inside Donald Trump's legal orbit has reversed course and is now cooperating with prosecutors. This is not a minor development. This individual, described by legal analysts as central to the defense narrative, was previously positioned as a shield, a buffer, a human firewall between Trump and damaging testimony. Now that shield is gone. According to multiple legal observers, this single move destabilizes months of courtroom planning. Defense strategies are built around controlling narrative flow. When a witness flips, that control evaporates. One former federal prosecutor explained it bluntly. When someone with inside knowledge changes sides, evidence stops being abstract. It becomes personal. It becomes chronological. It becomes dangerous. Inside Trump's legal team, urgency has replaced confidence. Emergency meetings were reportedly called within minutes of the news. Entire sections of the defense roadmap are now under review. This is the moment every high-profile legal operation fears, not because it guarantees defeat, but because it removes certainty. And in the courtroom, uncertainty is power, just not for the defense. Not all witnesses are equal. Some provide color, some provide context, some provide headlines, but a star witness provides structure. This individual reportedly had direct access to internal conversations, timelines, and decisions. The defense had planned to neutralize that access, either by discrediting it or controlling how it surfaced. Now, prosecutors may possess something far more powerful than documents, a human narrative. Legal analysts say this changes the rhythm of the case. Instead of arguing theory, prosecutors can argue sequence. Instead of suggesting intent, they can describe it. That is courtroom oxygen. One defense strategist described it this way: documents accuse. People persuade. The witness's cooperation potentially opens doors to corroboration. Other figures may now face pressure. Silence becomes risk. Distance becomes exposure. This is how legal gravity forms, not in one explosion, but in a chain reaction. High-profile defense teams operate like military units. Every move is pre-planned. Every public word is calibrated. Every witness is mapped. When one flips, the map changes. Sources describe an atmosphere of rapid recalibration. Arguments once designed to deflect now risk amplifying attention. Lines of attack may now point back at their own foundation. One legal analyst noted, defense strategies depend on narrative stability. Once a core voice defects, you're no longer controlling the story, you're reacting to it. This doesn't mean collapse, but it does mean transformation. Defense teams must now prepare for a version of events they no longer author. And that is where pressure becomes visible. For prosecutors, cooperation is leverage, not just in court, but in negotiation. A cooperating witness can authenticate documents, clarify intent, establish sequence, validate circumstantial evidence. That transforms a case from structural to human. Experts say this could accelerate timelines, reshape charges, or alter courtroom posture. It also creates psychological gravity. Others connected to the case must now assume conversations are no longer sealed. Silence becomes strategic risk. This is how legal momentum builds, not through spectacle but through alignment. Evidence aligns with testimony. Testimony aligns with motive. Motive aligns with narrative. And narrative wins juries. Beyond any individual case, this moment highlights a deeper truth about power and systems. Every structure depends on people. Contracts, institutions, empires. They look permanent. They are not. They hold only as long as belief and fear align. When one person steps out of that alignment, the system must reveal what it truly is, strong or brittle. This moment is not about a verdict. It's about accountability. Because in every legal battle, there is a quiet lesson. Power can shape stories. Money can delay outcomes. Influence can bend attention. But truth has a different rhythm. It doesn't rush. It waits. And when it finally speaks, it rarely whispers. Legal veterans warn that one flipped witness rarely stands alone. It changes behavior. People who once felt protected begin to calculate risk. Messages once ignored become urgent. Phones are answered. Lawyers are hired. Silence feels unsafe. This is the invisible ripple. A cooperating witness doesn't just bring information, they bring proof that defection is possible. In complex cases, loyalty is often maintained by uncertainty. Will anyone else talk? Am I alone if I move? That uncertainty is now gone. One former DOJ advisor explained, the first person to speak breaks the spell. After that, everyone realizes the room isn't sealed. Investigators understand this dynamic. It's why cooperation is valued more than any single document. It alters the psychology of everyone connected to the timeline. This is where cases stop being theoretical. They become relational. And relationships leave trails. High-profile cases often stretch across years. But cooperation compresses time. Prosecutors can now test evidence faster. Cross-reference statements. Pressure test timelines. What once required months now takes weeks. This is not dramatic. It's procedural. And procedure is power. Defense teams thrive on delay. Delay exhausts attention. Delay shifts headlines. Delay weakens momentum. A flipped witness threatens that rhythm. Because every verified detail tightens the window. Deadlines feel real. Motions feel urgent. Every filing carries consequence. The courtroom becomes active terrain. Public narratives mirror legal dynamics. When a case feels abstract, coverage remains speculative. When a witness speaks, it becomes personal. Suddenly, questions change. Who knew what? When did they know it? Who else was present? This is how complexity becomes storyline. Not through sensationalism, but through structure. A person can say, I was there. A person can say, this is what happened. A person can anchor time. And time is truth's architecture. Media attention follows that architecture. Not because it's dramatic, but because it's coherent. Adaptation is not surrender, it is survival. Defense teams now face strategic redesign. Which witnesses remain viable? Which arguments must be abandoned? Which lines of attack create risk? Every choice becomes double-edged. Silence can imply weakness. Aggression can invite exposure. One strategist summarized it. You're no longer defending against theory. You're defending against memory. Memory is harder to outmaneuver. With cooperation comes specificity. Prosecutors no longer ask if something happened. They ask where, when, who, and why. That transforms questioning. Juries respond to sequence, morning, meeting, decision, consequence. This is how law becomes narrative, and narrative becomes conviction. Not legally, psychologically. Every legal case generates a pressure field. It expands outward. Business partners reassess. Advisors distance. Allies become cautious, not from judgment, from risk. Reputation is currency, and uncertainty devalues it. The flipped witness is not the storm. They are the barometer. They tell everyone which direction the wind is moving. Truth is rarely loud. It doesn't trend. It doesn't posture. It doesn't perform. It accumulates. In statements, in timestamps, in corroboration. One voice becomes two. Two becomes structure. Structure becomes reality. This is not ideology. It is process. Every era produces figures who appear untouchable. We call it strength. But law does not recognize mythology. It recognizes evidence. And evidence does not bend. The flipped witness is not a verdict. They are a reminder. No structure is immune. No system is sealed. No story is final. Cynicism says nothing changes. History says change is slow. But slow is not the same as absent. Legal systems move in inches, but inches shape mountains. This is 1 inch. Beyond politics, beyond personalities, beyond power. There is a simple truth. Systems exist to test themselves. And every time someone steps forward, the system is asked a question. Are you real? The answer is never immediate, but it is always coming. Every cooperation begins with a decision, not a public one, not a political one, a private one. It happens in silence, between risk and conscience, between loyalty and survival. Legal experts say this is the most human moment in any major case, because before testimony becomes evidence, it is first a choice. and choices are contagious. They remind others that obedience is optional, that fear is not permanent, that systems depend on participation. This is where cases stop being mechanical. They become moral. Juries do not hear statutes. They hear stories. They listen for sequence. They look for coherence. They measure sincerity. A cooperating witness doesn't win a case by existence. They win it by clarity. What happened? In what order? With what intent? Lawyers understand this because law is not just rules. It is interpretation. And interpretation lives in human voice. Even before verdicts, consequences begin. Opportunities pause. Alliances thin. Distance grows. This is not punishment. It is gravity. Uncertainty carries weight, and weight reshapes behavior. The flipped witness does not end anything. They begin something, a process that unfolds slowly, relentlessly, without spectacle, like truth often does. Power is usually defined as control, but control depends on silence. The moment silence breaks, power must reveal its structure. Is it earned? Is it enforced? Is it borrowed? The legal system exists for this test. Not to embarrass, not to destroy, but to measure. And measurement is the enemy of myth. This is not a story about one person. It is a reminder that systems are built by people, that people can change. That change begins quietly. A witness flips, a narrative shifts, a system answers itself. And in that process, something rare happens. Power becomes accountable, silence becomes speech, and the future becomes open. Not because someone falls, but because someone speaks. That is how every real turning point begins.